Good evening. This is the Board of Public Works meeting for Monday, March 27, 2023. It is approximately 6:05. The agenda for tonight is under action items, a renewal of a drain layers license, relocation and modification of guardrail on Joseph Rebeck Way, modifying the current billing for water use at Ocean Street and Plymouth Ave, transfer station materials pricing for the coming year for drop-offs at the transfer station. And then we have discussions on changing the offset charges and the way which we document those. And for those that don't know, offsets are basically things like water used in public spaces. We don't charge the town for that because we're charging ourselves basically, but what we do is the dollar value of that is used as an offset against the indirect charges they inflict on the enterprise divisions. And then we are going to have some discussion about roadways in general with specific issues at Kent Park and also at Plymouth Avenue with the drainage issue that they have down there. And then we will have a vote to accept our minutes from the meeting of 3/6, and then the superintendent will be giving his report, and we have the fiscal year 24 approved water capital outlay as part of that discussion. I have a second on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John?
That's it.
Oh, I didn't hear John, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Why don't we take care of the, how many people are here for the Kent Park issue? Okay. Then I will propose we move the discussion of that to the front of the meeting, if that's okay with you,
Yeah, that's
John?
fine, that's
And you
Yep,
all?
absolutely.
Okay, all right. All right, and, okay. And I will knock off the drain layer license renewal as that's a pro forma type of thing, so we'll take that first. You ready, Ken, on that, I assume? The drain layer license? Are you doing that?
No.
I'm doing it.
No, Thomas, okay. Floor is yours, Tom.
Okay.
First.
It's on one.
All right, this is Totman, Russell B. Totman of Totman Enterprises. Has applied for a drain layers license. He's met all of the criteria set forth by the wastewater and has been approved by Consensus.
And this is a renewal, so he has performed for us with no issues?
Yes, has been using the facility for quite some time.
Any questions or comments, Mr. Cusick?
No, I'm fine with that.
I'm okay.
Okay. Then I move that we award the renewal of the drain layers license to Russell B. Topman of Topman Enterprises.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. On back. Okay. Then, there were some folks in here for Kent Park roads, and,
We have another one here.
yeah, put that.
Makes sense.
There's another in the packet, there's two.
Was there a second one, Tom?
Yeah.
No, there's only one.
Just
Okay.
one,
There's two pages to it.
there's two
There were
pages.
2 pages to
Oh, I'm
it.
sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Okay.
Okay.
I'll let the superintendent give a general picture of the roadway plans that we do have and how we approach both accepted and unaccepted roadways within the town. And then I will pick up a little bit of the string that one of the things to keep in mind is that funding for roadways is something we ask for, but the approval is handled by the select board and the town, the town administration. We have regularly been asking for the last 4 years now, I think it is,
Yes,
funding in the range of $300,000 to $200,000 from the general fund to supplement the state highway funding we receive for the accepted roadways. And that has not been approved and put forward by either the capital budget committee nor the select board and advisory board. And if you were at town meeting last year, you may remember that I stood and had to inform the select board at the time that, they was telling someone who lived on one of the unpaved roads that we had the funding to do the work, and we didn't, because it takes a specific vote of town meeting under Mass General Law and Town Code in order to spend public funds on private ways, and almost all of the unpaved dirt roads in town are private ways, which basically typically means the abutters on either side of the road own to the middle of the roadway, and the same is the case for paved private ways.
And open to the
So
public.
the bottom line, and open to the public.
Yeah, open to the public.
And there are very few private ways that aren't open to the public in town. And the bottom line comes down, if we don't get the funding, we can't adopt the roads, and we can't fix the roads unless we get some supplemental funding. And Tom can correct me if I'm wrong here, but at last count, the funding we receive per road mile is in the ballpark of $5,000?
5,000
Per
lane mile,
road
yeah.
And that's good enough to do basically a roadway that needs rebuilding, a quarter mile of it. So that's kind of where the funding sits when we're doing work. And I'll turn it over to Tom from here.
Yeah, the dirt roads and private roads is, we try to grade them every spring and every fall. After a bad winter, we try to get out there and grade them. We're restricted to what we can do by the funding that's appropriated to us. So that, I mean, we asked for, in the past, we've got around $70,000 annually for the maintenance of private roads and the grading of dirt roads. Over the last 4 years, we haven't received that money. This year, we're getting the $70,000 to start that back up again, but that money doesn't become available until July 1st in the new budget season. So our hands are kind of tied. We do try to get in there with the loader and a dump truck with gravel and get the bigger holes taken care of. But in order to, I mean, a lot of these roads aren't accepted. They don't meet code. It's country drainage. So there's, to have them all paved, to go through that process, we've been trying to develop a road acceptance policy over the last few years. It's something that needs to be approved by 3 boards, the Planning Board, the Department of Public Works, and the Board of Selectmen requires that vote in order to approve that road acceptance policy. This board has had a moratorium on paving side streets and accepting roadways until the town supports the road with more road monies. Currently, we get money from Chapter 90 through the State Department of Transportation. That's based on the number of, there's a formula that goes into play that dictates how much money you get from this program. Has to do with the number of road miles, your population during the day. So that means when how much business you also have also is involved. So that alone, the money that we get for Chapter 90 is roughly $740,000. We can maybe pave 2 roads annually with that money. It's so expensive now to pave. Right now, there's the fuel cost for asphalt keeps going up, so the cost of asphalt has increased dramatically over the last few years. But most of the roads we're talking about here are dirt roads. It's unaccepted roadways. We've tried a new process with shingles, the ground up asphalt shingles. We use that material and we mix it with our reclaimed asphalt, and it shows that it's, last year we used it for the first time and it held up a lot better than previous years with just the plain straight gravel. So that's something now that we're going to try to do more of it and get that base down with that ground asphalt. Will give us a more solid base than the gravel base that we have right now.
Is that for the asphalt potholes or the dirt?
No, that's for the dirt. The asphalt, it's just getting out and patching the asphalt holes. And there's so many of them, just we go by areas of town and we try to work our way through.
And I will comment that I did see the crews out earlier this week when last week, toward the end of the week when I was driving around checking on some stuff, and they were, busily Pleasant Street at the time I happened to catch, patching potholes, and I did see they got up into bushes and Blackmount over the last couple of weeks at some point. So we are trying to address that stuff. You're just getting to the season where we can begin to redo that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate with the weather, although the freeze thaw with the rain causes issues also with potholes. So you put the mix in, and if it's raining, it's all going to unravel over time. It's only a temporary fix with that, the pothole mix. It's not like regular asphalt.
Mr. Shaughnessy said he had a question first, and then I'll let
Yeah, I wanted to put everything in perspective here. Could you tell us how many roads there are in Ken Park? How many lane miles out there? And with the existing funding that we anticipate to get, along with Silver Pines, can we get to all those roads? And what would it take, really, what would it take from a dollar value to achieve at least a serviceable level for the people in both those communities?
Well, Kent Park is there's a split in there where some of the roads are accepted and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
On Silver Pines, none of them are accepted over there. So they're all dirt on that side. So I don't have a number of roads. I don't have a number to put on what it would cost to repave all those roads. All those roads are in, I don't think any of them are repavable. I think if you're going to do repairs, you're going to have to do full depth reclamation and rebuild the base. It's pretty spongy down there, and that's why you see a lot of that alligator cracking.
So if the roads are dirt roads, what would it cost to regrade those per lane mile of a dirt road versus a full depth? I mean, so a lot of people probably in the audience, they don't understand maybe what the level of effort from a dollar value versus a serviceability level of the road itself.
Right now we go in there with a bulldozer and we grade it just so the water runs, and we fill in some of the ruts. But we have to do that twice a year, and if we have a very wet springtime, then we're back at it during the summer in some spots. We're fortunate where the winter wasn't that bad, because a lot of times after you pave it and then you get a bad winter, you're up there plowing, you're pushing a lot of the material that you put down to fill the ruts, you're now pushing that material around.
And you're pushing it into the marsh.
Right.
Because I live at the end, and every dump truck...
Excuse me, sir, you have to state your name for the record and your address.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And you have to be recognized
Okay.
first. And this young lady in front here was ahead of you.
I'm sorry, I'm new
It's
to
okay.
this.
Yep.
Well, a couple of things that you said. Are you Tom?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Mary Ann from Wellington.
Your name and address for the record.
Mary Ann Jarvis, 62 Wellington Ave. On the funding part, can you enlighten us about the American Rescue Plan Act that we got approved for $2.3 million? Does that actually approve the Marshfield infrastructure?
That was approved for the pump station on Plymouth Ave and the water and drainage on Surf Ave.
Okay, so that's...
Those are two separate projects. And again, we can't use the state funding on unaccepted roadways. We could use it on the paved roads that are accepted.
Okay, so really what we're here for, we all know about the dirt roads and private roads open to the public. The older gentleman who had the actual grading machine, he did a fantastic job. This year has been extremely bad because we've had so much rain, and some of them are huge puddles. That's separate. What we're here for is 1997, we had the private road committee approve, accept, widen, and pave the roads, and then they were accepted. We call the loop, and it comes in from Parkway, down Wellington, over behind the Itasca, down Washington, over Quincy, and back up Arlington, and back up, in hopes that the bus would get in there. These roads are accepted, and they have been patched here and there. All of Parkway into the entrance of Wellington and Washington up to Arlington was not paved back 25 years ago because they were in really good condition. They need to be graded and repaved. They are in absolute danger. We had, at that point when I went in 1997, we had 45 kids at the bus stop. It was very dangerous. Now, we have them at least park on one side, so when you come into Penn Park, you can get another car in, or someone has to stop to get out. And that whole side of the road where they used to park is all crumpled. It's like a ditch now. But they keep cutting and patching them, or if there's like a big hole, they'll patch that, but the other ones, they don't touch. And then all of a sudden, next week, and poor the Donahues, every time someone went past their house, they would be woken up, bang, bang. Not only are you gonna have damage to your police, your fire, and your mail trucks, it's also, everybody's just using one side of the road to get around potholes, and it's a blinding corner, and I almost got hit head-on coming into Wellington when someone was coming out of Wellington. It's really, really bad. Deb, I don't know if she's here, has pictures and she marked in the back of the photos of what streets they are. And when you look at them, those are separate roads and supposedly those maintained. I'm trying to prevent everybody from calling Anne Marie screaming because they need attention. They really do. And I understand the whole funding thing. I was hoping that 2.3, I didn't realize it was already for infrastructure or something else, but we just, it's the only one way in, one way out.
No, I know, I'm
And I know
familiar.
the side roads are horrible for a fire truck to go down right now.
I'm very
And we're not
familiar.
here to get every single dirt road paved. We're trying to maintain what's already been accepted, and they were beautiful. And it was a quality, like, people were out walking instantly, baby carriages. We have bikers, we have runners. Every single day, there's people going past my house. They enjoy being outside.
The drainage has been an issue down there too, and we've made some repairs to some spots down there with drainage but we'll never catch up with it, you know. We put a couple of pipes in across the road to get, you know, some drainage, but it's a low spot, you know,
Well, Quincy's a very low spot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of water damage down there, or it wasn't built up enough at the time, but we really, I'm not gonna speak for everybody because they're all here. We need to have some major work at the entrance of that park. And some of the other potholes that need to be cut out, dug out, and then patched, not repaved 2-5 miles, you know what I mean?
No, and just filling those potholes doesn't fix the problem.
No, it
because
doesn't. It's so bad now that it needs, the entrance of the park needs to be replaced.
Right, and like I said, it's so spongy underneath that road. So the traffic,
Well, I'd say probably the past 3 years is when it started really going downhill, but it lasted 25 years, what did they?
about the life of the road is
Yeah.
probably 25 years.
So it's old and tired, it needs to be replaced.
Yes, no, I agree with you 100%.
I just don't know how we're gonna pay for it.
Right, but that's my biggest issue, is that's the biggest obstacle, is to get the funding in order to do this. I could give you a list of projects that we would love to do, but it's the financing that kind of puts the hold on it. I hate to say that, but it's reality.
I have a comment I'd like to make, but if you're done, Tom, but I don't want to tell anybody else at the moment. Oh, one of the things I have been contemplating has yet to come before the board as a discussion, but since we have this many people here representing a fair number of votes, if we were to seek to create an article for a debt exclusion for roadway funding, okay, when, you know, an approach, I think we had an initial plan at one time of $5 million, am I correct, Tom?
I floated an idea to the finance team that a $5 million bond over 10 years would give us an additional $500,000 put along with road monies to take care of these issues.
So that is one approach that is open. If we will put something together to that. It's too late for this annual town meeting, obviously, because they weren't closed back when, and we're going to try to seek some funding for roadway when we get to the special in the fall, when we know what retained earnings are and what the free cash is as well.
So that would be the fall?
That's the fall town meeting, yeah. And they usually don't have the numbers till sometime in late July, early August at the earliest, but not quite done. What I would proceed with, folks, is, and this is the approach we used up in Marshfield Hills to get the sidewalk work done, which by comparison to this is light work on a dollar basis. We would be drafting the override article. We would look for a citizens petition in parallel. And we do that because the Board of Selectmen decide what goes on the warrant. I'm sorry, Select Board, getting up in the current day. We don't have a say in that if they say they're not going to put it on to the agenda. But if there is a citizens petition, it does get in the agenda. They cannot refuse a citizens petition. So, I guess I would say that you need to contemplate that as a group and see if you can get behind it. And if you have a network of friends that are in other, like currently paved development areas that are yet to be accepted roads, and you're adding more votes, to push the article forward. So, that's one approach which we have yet to try. It would be our first time trying it if we do. I would hope my compatriots here on the board would be on board with that.
So I was, as I said before, if we had a list of what roads need to be done, what the priority is, and what the dollar value is, then we can get people to come to town meeting and say, yes, we want our roads done. And we vote for it. And that way, right now, we'd love to do every figure road in this town. Regardless of what it is, but this money's not there. And as Tom said, it's very, very expensive. But it's not unfeasible that we can come up with a plan and come up with a timetable and prioritize it. And I hear exactly what you're saying about the accepted roads that are already there for the school buses, because, there's a lot of kids out there. If there was ever a kid that got hit or anything, shame on us.
I gotta say something.
Just one thing Mr. Cusick, I'm going to recognize that, but there's one thing I want to mention too, because there is a two-edged sword to this as well, and that is some of the road work would result in betterments being charged, like drainage work, where there is no drainage and that sort of thing. Potentially, depends on how much money gets funded, but you could be facing that as a property owner, as a betterment charge, much like happened with people who were getting sewage put in. I have to recognize Mr. Cusick first, sorry.
That's all right, thank you, Dave. Well, I look at it this way, number one, it's the selectmen decide what goes on, what's on the warrant. So there are elections, and elections have consequences. So, just think about it. If we can get somebody in with the selectmen that will go along with this, we're stonewalled when it comes to funding. Now, just to give you an example, town hall, now there is no money, there's no money. 1.3 million, second floor remodeled. They're remodeling the second floor, 1.3 million. They're just gonna ask for another $300,000 this coming in the special on the thing. They run into a problem. Just 300,000. See, they'll fund their own stuff, but they won't fund what you want. So if you can stick together, this is how I look at it. Change the political climate. It's the same over and over again. It's the same people over and over again, the same stonewall. So I'm suggesting that, I know you have 3 roads over there since '97. Washington, is it, Quincy, they're all paved.
Yes,
But they've never been repaved. So that's something we should look at.
Those were all dirt. You could not push a baby carriage.
I know they were
So
paved.
I did a petition, Harriet, Sandy Murphy, and we went to the town hall, and we got the verbiage because we didn't know what we were doing. We got an article on the warrant. I stood up, it was painted in front of town meeting, and it got done. But what we're saying is, and to back up, we understand about the drainage, but these are roads that have already been paved.
Right.
So if the roads that have been paved previously, 25, 35 years ago, if the drainage is not good, then that would be not the homeowner, because they've already been there. We want the roads that have been paved and accepted and used for the past 25 years to be taken care of. That's what we're
I'm not done yet.
But on the drainage issue, I was not really referring to the paved roads. I was talking about the dirt roads that haven't been accepted. Sorry.
All right, so-
Go ahead, John. Finish.
what I'm thinking, if they can spend 1.3 mil in the town hall to dress it up for someone that lives in Ken Park,
Oh, our town
So,
administrator lives
you
in
know,
Kent Park.
I'd help you write an article for next.
Funny, you never heard.
I've done this before.
I know, I have too, but to back up with David, we have plenty of time. I can probably, in this room, have people help you get hundreds and hundreds of signatures.
We only need 100.
The only thing is that they have to be registered voters in Marshfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if anybody gets signatures, they have to.
So
be
the
registered
money could
voters.
come from free cash, or we could, just write an article and write verbiage. Did that work, Tom?
Well, Harriet has the original letter too. You just-
See your hands, you can put them down so you don't strain yourself.
So, that, I mean, there's no other way of doing it, because the climate is political. They'll spend money on themselves. And if you stick together and write your own article, and just go for the money, and something will happen, because since '97, nothing's happened. You know, we're kind of stonewalled, and every turn, we ask for money, and you just don't get it, and it's the select board, whatever you want to call it. You know?
Two young ladies are ahead of you back there, so I'll take one to the left first and then one to the right.
I am raising my hand on behalf of Diane.
Hi, Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. So a couple of things talking about funding and town meeting. Last October at the town meeting voted yes to $900,000 for 4 bathrooms in the town hall, a building that dates back to 1972. That money came out of the general fund, I believe, which is free money, which could be used for roads.
Actually, that
it's-
money was left over from the capital project for the senior center, if I recall.
Okay, well, it was still open free money. But town meeting voted to allocate it for bathrooms at the town hall. And that's mainly because not a lot of people go to town meeting, kind of the same people go every year. So if people have concerns that aren't being addressed, I recommend that they go to town meeting so that things like that don't happen, because that $900,000 could have been used for roads. And then the other thing is that you mentioned putting a citizen's petition on town meeting. At a recent Board of Public Works meeting, Mr. Carrier stated that he was going to put an article on this upcoming town meeting asking for $300,000 for roads, but he didn't do that. There's no article on there for roads.
It's a budget line item. It was turned down by both the capital budget and also the select board, but I will be making my statement at the joint hearing tomorrow between the advisory board and the select board, and then I will be standing up as I did last year at town meeting, seeking those funds and asking the town meeting voters to move that money from free cash to the $200,000 request that we had, so that we can get it. That's how that works.
Okay, so I recommend everybody go to town meeting. And then the other thing is back to the bathrooms for a second. Those were supposed to be $900,000, that's what town meeting allocated for them. Now it's up to what, 1.3, did Mr. Cusick say? 1.3 million? Mr. Maresco recently, over the last few months, I don't know how he makes up the rules like all the time, but that anything over $1 million has to be a debt exclusion, meaning it goes into raising our taxes. So now that the bathrooms aren't being completed for the $900,000, he's getting extra money for the bathrooms, which puts them over $1 million, which should have gone to town meeting for a debt exclusion, which wouldn't have passed because nobody wants their taxes to go up for bathrooms at the town hall. So I'm running for Board of Public Works, and if I get elected, then I will fight for people's streets.
What's your?
Diane Jordan.
I'll recognize you, sir.
Hi, my name is Jack Smith, 160 Quincy Ave, Marshfield. I don't know if you guys realize why there's so many people here. It's only about a section of, at the most, 200 feet. A lot of it is just in front of, it's an area for me to use where it's real bad. And then when you go into Wellington, it's an area less than the length of this room on one side. That's real bad. That's mainly why we're here. We're not looking to get all the roads. It'd be nice if they were all tarred and stuff, but the problem, and why I think, if you guys agree, it's that area right in front of somebody's, you know, a couple of houses, it's not even a length of their property. And the property isn't huge in there, it's on that right side of Wellington. Yeah, Washington. It would be great if we could do from the entrance to Arlington. I mean, but there's that one section that's, like I said, me to you, that's like potholes that deep. I mean, it's damaging stuff. And then in Wellington, it's missing the road. The road keeps chipping off away. It was nicely tied, and it just keeps chipping in. If it doesn't get fixed, it's just gonna keep going. That's mainly why we're here. I don't know if there's any money, or you could have crews come in to do a decent patchwork right there, but that's really what we're looking for. We'll also help in addition, but I think that's what most people are looking for right now.
We could do that.
Before I recognize this, no, I don't know whether that fits right now with the town plan, your commitments you already have, Tom.
I just have to see what we have for funding. I mean, doing a shoulder, a couple, you know, maybe 100 feet of the shoulder.
It's
trying
not
to tighten that up.
Yeah.
We can look at trying to correct that issue.
Thank you.
So that would be nice to do on a short-term basis, but there's still a longer-term basis, a midterm and a longer-term basis.
That's an interim
Originally talking
fix,
about.
and we go from there.
Right, if I
But you
may.
gotta stay
go ahead, Tom.
together.
I'm just, one of the previous speakers mentioned that we didn't ask for any road money, and we asked for $200,000.
Right, it's in the capital budget.
Right, and we weren't, it wasn't approved by.
I made that statement. Go ahead, sir.
Gary Mount, Somerville Street. So the only thing I can say to you, sir, is there's a lot more than just that section. There are good sections of the roads, but you got to go down Quincy. There's several places that need 100 yards or more to be replaced. And patching isn't the answer anymore. They're too old for that. They're too dangerous. They're one-way streets at nighttime. You can't see a pothole in the rain. I've replaced more than one tire because of this problem before, and I have my cars aligned all the time because it's an issue. It's dangerous. So we walked around it yesterday, and I took pictures of my wife's foot in the pothole where it was up to here. The dirt roads, I live at the end of Marshfield and Somerville, and every time a dump truck puts the dirt in the holes, that dirt ends up in the marsh at the end of my street. The snow plows come, they plow one way, and 2 dump truck fulls of dirt and gravel go in the marsh every year. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's what happens.
I don't think we do it on purpose.
Oh, I understand that, but I mean, think of the money that you spend twice a year doing all these repairs in these dirt roads. If you just paved them once, they'd be good for 20 at least.
If I had the money, I'd pave every road in town if I could. It makes that
Well, I
job
think
a
I have
lot
to
easier.
follow your advice
Stay together
and find out
That's
how
the
how
key.
many select people are you talking about?
Three.
They're-
Well, there's
Okay, and
there's
when-
only one at a time up for reelection.
Okay, and how often are the elections?
Every 3
Every
years
year.
for each, like, I'm standing for reelection this year, finishing a 3rd-year term.
Every
That's the way it
April.
all works.
Okay,
There's an election.
so maybe after this meeting's over, I can get these names and contact information from you, these people.
It's on the webpage too. You can go on the webpage and list their email addresses.
Yeah, okay.
Well, just one more thing. From what you had
You
said.
need to repeat.
Sorry,
hit say-
Mary Ann Jarvis, 62 Wellington Ave. I would like to, we're going to get the letter that we had originally in 1997, and we'll get a petition together. Does it have to be dated? Can it be dated from like tomorrow up until it has to go, or it has to be within 30 days?
You need to check with the clerk's office for the citizen's petition to make sure you conform to what's required under state law for the petition. I believe there's a limit, there's a window in which you can do the petition and submit it for the next meeting.
Okay, my second question was, every time we have a road accepted, that's more mileage that you get additional funding from chapter 90 next year. If that's an issue, would he be able to put an article for just this road to be paved because of that filling in the marsh of all expensive fill?
You can put in an article for pretty much anything you want to under the
Or
way
would
that
that
things
just go
work.
through Tom
But
and he could put it on the
one of the things I was going to, is a follow-on to the idea that we go out with a citizen petition to get an override so we can actually get the road work done and get it funded. The going forward piece of it after that is, getting a change, if you like, in the planning and capital programs that, we would match whatever the state funding is with municipal funding from the town. And under those circumstances, then you're probably able to take care of a half a mile of road, just to use a round figure. And under those circumstances, with the state acceptance, those subdivisions where the roads are in good shape, so you know you're not going to have to be in there for 10 to 15 years, you can kind of get ahead of the problem and start to work it out. Am I correct, Tom? So that's kind of where we want to march with this as we go forward. But again, it takes the voters at town meeting. Sometimes it takes a change, to a bylaw, because otherwise you are, jumping up against, discretion that can be exercised under their authority as select board to not proceed with something, even though it gets a vote. We've experienced that.
Yeah, but you just, we'll vote them out of office, that's what you do.
Well, if you can do that.
Well, they can't do it.
You can try. You gotta get it done. You gotta give it a try.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with this town.
I'm gonna recognize Mr. Murphy, and then I think, we're starting to get into redundancy here, so I want to move on to the next item, which is the Plymouth Avenue drainage alternatives.
I want to finish up too.
Okay, John.
Eric Murphy, Ocean Street. So I realize what an exercise in futility it is to try to get anything past the Board of Selectmen or town meeting as far as debt exclusion, money, anything like that, long-term, and you're talking a couple of years down the road before they get any money. Clearly, it sounds like this guy's looking for a couple of big giant potholes, a couple of dump trucks full of rock dumped in a couple of big hot potholes for a short-term fix, grade it out, and then worry about your bylaws and all that. My question being is, it's been a really warm winter. What's left in the snow budget?
Mr. Reynolds had commented that he would take a look at it and see what could be done. The money that is put in for snow and ice, I believe takes a town meeting article to shift it, does it not, Mr. Galvin?
No, it could be
No, okay,
spent,
so we can,
unused funds could be spent on roadway repairs.
well, it has to be transferred back to the general fund for that purpose. Because I know in the past, the accountants have stopped us from using snow and ice money for anything other than snow and ice.
I don't
When we go into a deficit,
What's left is my question. What's left in the budget for this year? They haven't used much.
about 160,000.
That'd be some big pothole fixing down in Kent Park.
Yes, I'm not saying it wouldn't, but we also have not quite finished with the snow season.
Well, just, you have to know.
We'd like to think we have, but I have known
Don't know about it.
Easter storms and Mother's Day storms.
160 grand.
Okay, all right.
So I want to finish.
Go ahead, John, finish up.
So, you want to have that article. So things have changed a little bit when you do these articles. So when you do the article, I'm willing to help you. You have to bring the article to the select. You pick it up at the town clerk. Maurice will help you. And when you get all the signatures, don't bring it back to Maurice, town clerk. Bring it to the select. I'm going to give you my card so you can have it.
And I can, you don't mind emailing?
No, and then I'll help. I've
And
done
what
this,
I'll do is
I've
I'll
done
get-
this for the veterans, and they had an article, and they got screwed on their irrigation. And I helped them write an article, and it passed. Although there was a poison pill in it, that they didn't get their irrigation. But that's for another day.
Well, what I'll do is we'll get the original letter that got us
Right.
the article on the warrant, and I can scan it and email it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then let me know how to do that, and then attach that to the petition, have everybody wet sign them
Yeah, it's just a
with their address.
registered voter with the address. They really look at the address, not so much the signature.
The form itself is descriptive.
You know, I'm talking. And, well, this happens all the time. So,
And you do that.
they don't like me talking because I let it fly, and I'll tell you the truth. And this appropriate doesn't like it. You can-
Yeah, because I'm gonna just need deadlines and the actual procedure, and then.
Yeah, I'll help you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you gotta change, you gotta change the political atmosphere in this town.
So Tom, can we close this and with the suggestion that we have staff go down and look at this guy's, what he described this week?
I'm gonna
So we actually could do something, and then work with the community to come up with a short-term, a medium-term, a long-term plan of what we need to deal with, not just here, but Silver Pines, because of all, private roads close to the public, open to public, and they do need maintenance. And then we can work with, once we have a solid plan, we can say, okay, depending on the funding level, based on priority, when we're asking you folks to help us prioritize that, and we'll go to town meeting collectively and get the funding and get it done.
Mr. Chair, I can meet Mary Ann down there and we can walk the site and I can get a better idea of what.
And I would like to see us, we'll do a parallel article for the override, so it's, because we did go through, the last time we did one of those, the then chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Bradley, basically,
Who lives in that area?
hit back at us and said, all you had to do was submit it, shouldn't be doing it through a citizen's article. And the reality was, 3 times we had put the same article before and it went down.
We'll do a citizen.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yep.
Don't worry, we will.
Okay. So we're going to move on now to the Plymouth Avenue drainage. And are you here, Mr. Keller? Yep, there you are. So I'm sorry. Yep. See you. Yep. Okay. We have been tried a number of different alternatives, attempts rather, to clear the drainage on Plymouth Avenue. If you've driven down Plymouth Avenue, you know at 307 there's a pond this time of year. And the only time it's not there is when there's a drought. The work we have attempted this past year using mosquito control in our own facilities were impeded by the fact that we had a mild winter. And without the freeze up, we couldn't go in with some of the equipment. And then the other piece of equipment, because of the amount of trees that were involved, we weren't able to proceed. I had asked that we look at some alternatives to that drainage work. Well, one thing, the only way to me, in my mind, is that Plymouth Avenue can be taken care of at that location. At the low point is a direct line out through the marsh rather than trying to feed it back into the sinuous drainage ditches that exist, which are badly clogged and overgrown with the phragmites and the like. Have we got any progress on that, Tom?
Rod was
Yeah,
did some research.
Town engineer's got to speak to it.
A little bit of
Is that
progress.
the mosquito people? Is that the mosquito people?
They're the ones that have been doing it.
Yeah. Well, they ended up not being able to do it with the equipment they had.
Oh, I was just asking.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know.
You know everything anyway.
No, I don't. I have to know that one. in
I've
particular.
got a couple of little maps in the back, just kind of orient
I don't like it, but I know.
where these ditches are, the major ditches. And,
Do you have an extra copy that maybe you can share with Mr. Keller?
yeah.
If not, I'll look on the co-op and you can take mine.
Yeah, fine.
So I think it's the first page,
Yeah.
the old.
Yeah. 07. Basically, the end is back of Johnson Terrace, and then flows out. I'm actually close to this one, then it's supposed to flow. Straight through the bed. Go ahead, Roger.
So the first map that we'll run into is, this shows some drainage ditches, kind of south of MacArthur. And MacArthur is that road that's further to the left.
It's off of Johnson Terrace, isn't it?
Johnson Terrace, MacArthur, that area. But this is south of Johnson Terrace, right? So we've got 2 major ditches in that area. One ends up going directly to Bass Creek. It's about 7,500 linear feet.
Want to speak up?
Okay, sorry. Let me
You
turn
probably
around.
should turn around. Here's the podium if you'd like.
That's okay.
Thanks.
I'll sit right here. So, there's two major ditches that I could see, and Charlie and I have been out there, and mosquito control was trying to clean out one of those ditches, and they were unsuccessful because of how wet it was out there. One of them is about 2,500 linear feet. It's from like right behind house number 307, which is at the low point, which is always wet. It's been wet for since I remember, and that's the ditch that they tried to try to clean out. They got about, I don't know, 50 feet, 100 feet, and they couldn't negotiate the terrain there. They had some mats, but it was too uneven, and it just wasn't working out for them. And recently they have gone down behind Johnson Terrace, and they have gone behind MacArthur, and at the end of MacArthur, they've been able to get the drain to flow to Bass Creek at the end of MacArthur. So that has been functioning. We've been monitoring that weekly. We've also been monitoring the water behind the dike as well. And we recently lowered it for a month about an additional couple of feet. We're down to almost -3. And there was no change. With that evidence, we know we have a plug in that larger or longer ditch that's about 7,500 feet to the creek. And there's still a plug in that 2,500 linear foot ditch as well. So we got to unplug one of these ditches and allow that tidal flow to happen, because that tidal flow, even though it's only a foot, makes a huge difference. If we can just get that to drop a foot, we can get some movement out of the backs of these yards on Plymouth Ave, because they're just saturated. The problem is getting in there, and you almost have to modify the terrain by either filling or with an extensive matting system to get in there. And mosquito control, it's this past attempt, it just was too wet for them. They usually bring in a couple of mats, but the mats, the single mats that they were using just wasn't enough, I guess. In the past, when we contracted the work, the contractors bring in large timber mats, heavy equipment. They need heavy equipment to move the timber mats. But then once the timber mats are in place, they can move the equipment along the bank and do the job. It's expensive. When we did Bass Creek, it was somewhere around $300,000 or $400,000 to get that creek cleaned out. I put together a real rough conceptual estimate, David. I think you were looking for some rough costs. And I broke it down into two areas. Areas kind of north of MacArthur and areas south of MacArthur. The area south of MacArthur, if you did all the ditches, you're looking at about $1.8 million to go out to bid. And it will take a significant amount of permitting, design.
Well, my question to you at this point is, that is for clearing the ditches.
That's for vegetation removal and some sediment, although they frown upon sediment removal.
I understand, but basically it's clearing the ditches.
Correct. About roughly 10 feet wide is what I used. And it was just based on escalated costs that I had from Bass Creek. These would have to be confirmed, and permitting is a major drag. When we use mosquito control, there's very little permitting required. They're allowed to go out there and take the vegetation out, cast it to the side, they run over it a few times, kind of make it, blend it into the bank. And it doesn't look too bad when they're done, and it does, and the vegetation grows back fairly quickly. But ditch gets cleaned out, and usually it's good for, 3 years or so. It's just this year they weren't able to get that ditch. And, so the area to the north, I had 900,000. There's about half as many ditches. Bass Creek is fairly vegetated right now. Phragmites have grown across it since 2015, so it didn't take long for them to take over, and it is causing some backup of the water in the Monitor Road, Constitution. It is a little slow moving in that area. It's moving, but it's slow moving. So one alternative I was looking at, as far as putting a pipe, piping it all the way out, there's very little changes in elevation. We've got the water level right now in the back of the dike maintained between -1 and 0. We're at elevation 1 at the low point, and on the gutter line, it's even less than that. So when you get a rain event, it adds water to that equation. And sometimes that elevation will go up to, with a rainfall event of a couple inches, you could be at +1 at those levels. We're trying to keep it high, high enough so that we can reach as far back with the salt water as possibly we can, because that helps in keeping the Phragmites down. But we only can go so high. And I think we're at our max, and we probably should back it off about a half a foot or so anyways. But it didn't make any difference when we went down to -3 in that area, because we have a definite plug in those ditches, and we've got to get those plugs removed. At least one ditch, if we can get that 2,500 feet done, that would make a significant difference. One alternative I was looking at, and this is pie in the sky, it's expensive, but what if we put a cutoff wall behind all the properties, like a 2-foot cutoff wall or something like that? You'd have some check valves that would allow the water to drain out just local, and then you would run your pipes from the road, similar to what you're saying, where it comes off, let's say, Second Road, let's say at West Brooklyn, whatever, and where it dumps off into the marsh, just after it clears the road. But if you extended that beyond and you put it behind the cutoff wall so that water wouldn't be accumulating behind all the houses in there, you take some of that curse off of it. It's tricky though, because we don't have much elevation to play with, and I really got to get inside and find out where those pipes are on the ground. And, that's a possibility, though, where you could just kind of encapsulate that. It's expensive, probably talking about $3 million to encapsulate behind all those houses, behind Johnson Terrace and behind MacArthur. And then you'd have check valves to allow the water to get past it.
But when you're talking about when you're talking about these isolation walls, you're including the location down by 307, those low points?
Yeah, it would be behind those houses.
Okay.
And we'd have to investigate it a lot more. I don't have, it's so tight, I'd have to be in there to get this,
The one concern I have with the approach that maintains the drainage ditches is that, we will be constantly, won't be my issue because I'm old enough, but I'll be checking out of the world in a short time. The bottom line comes down to the drainage ditches themselves are constantly going to reclog and create the problem over and over.
You got a temperature or anything? You got a temperature?
No.
But we'll leave them ask.
You never know.
the thing is, you gotta maintain the end, you gotta have access to the end, and you're already 500 feet.
Our biggest problem is I mean, our biggest problem is the fact that when these ditches were done, the environmental regulations we deal with now didn't exist. And, you know, some of these were probably designed for the old salt marsh farm irrigations. And, you know, the concern I have is it doesn't really address in a manner that lets us do maintenance without having to get environmental permits and being confined to, you can't do it in turtle season, you can only do it for 60 days in the middle of the winter. And if you don't get a winter, then you can't really get it done.
When we did Bass Creek, we had a timing restriction right in the middle, and
Yep.
April to June, we couldn't get out there.
So I
So
mean,
we had to do it in the front end, we had to do it on the back end.
now, I recognize the elevation issues and the like that we're dealing with here, but to me, I know there's some folks that are not going to support the idea of a pipe system simply because it doesn't reintroduce the water into this marsh area. This marsh area does not need extra water, it's got plenty. And, you know, to me, piping it, getting it out to the basin at Green Harbor River is the only real solution that will take care of this forever. I recognize that it's an extremely expensive alternative, but at least we can put it before the select board at some point in time and get the rejection and then try to fight it from there.
Are you proposing, Dave,
Change the board.
I agree.
so are you proposing to put a pipe from Johnson Terrace to 307 Plymouth Avenue?
No, I would be saying you make your drainage come out, the low point in the road and the area is 307,
Yeah,
okay?
There's a
So
pipe
that's
in
your
there.
drainage point. That's where you run your water to. You run your drainage down the street where you can. You bring it across from like the Johnson Terrace, MacArthur area as needed. You know, I mean, it's a major drainage project. You know, and it's talking about pie in the sky. This is higher sky than what he just
yeah,
proposed.
2,500 feet.
No, it's more than 20, it's
Seven-
more than 2,500 feet to come out this way
Yeah.
to tie into Green Harbor
There's
River.
two drains, there's a red one and there's a blue one.
The existing drainage ditches are there. I'm saying you run a drainage line down Plymouth Avenue to 307, which is the low point. You come, get an easement to come across the property, run the drainage straight down into Green Harbor River. Okay? And now you are dealing with the highest elevations coming down to the lowest elevation and then flowing toward the river. And the river level then becomes the critical item. But during storms and other situations, as soon as the tide is out, you can adjust the tide gates and drain as much as possible. Now, you're not getting that done at all now.
The problem is,
That's
it's at the
7,500
same
feet.
elevation as the lake right now, it's the river.
I understand.
The pipe isn't gonna flow.
The only other alternative,
The difference in elevation.
the only other alternative that solves this problem for folks is allowing them to elevate their property. And we know that that takes a huge amount of swan mating dances with the Board of Select, I'm sorry, the Planning Board and also with the Conservation Commission and DEP. Yeah, I mean, to me, in the road work, the work that you're talking about doing, disturbance to the marsh should be considered de minimis simply because when you look at the number of square feet of marsh that's there, whatever footprint we're doing on it, it's de minimis. It's less than 1%. Well, that's, I mean, I'm glad we've got some alternatives before us. I don't like the cost, but the costs are the cost. And one of the things, I guess, is for the regular drainage maintenance, have we gone for contractors out there that have something that doesn't need to operate with the, Duramats or the heavy timber mats, because I've used those in the electric utility world for running transmission lines when I was up at Hudson. They're expensive to do. And the bottom line comes down, if you can get somebody with a piece of equipment that can actually work within the marsh,
Didn't we have a spider machine at one time?
yeah, we had the, we did, but that didn't prove out, mostly because of the electronic issues, I think, Tom, wasn't it? Ultimately,
That was before my time.
yeah, no, we had the,
It was like a spider.
well, it was still here when I left.
Menzies.
It was still here when I left. But,
Still around?
No, that's gone.
they got that scalped out. But the bottom line is, I'm picturing somebody that has something that is kind of like a modified duck or a weasel. That could go down those marsh areas.
You need a duck boat.
Well, you can use the DWKs with the dual drive, like the World War II stuff, that you take the buck boats. But there were also a smaller unit that used to be used up in Alaska, particularly in the permafrost area and stuff like that, was called a weasel. it's just about the width of one of these things. If you can track it, it's dual drive, so if it got wet, you can propel it itself where it has to go. But they were designed to operate this kind of system. And because they were basically a boat, we didn't have to worry about sinking if they got into an extreme wet area. I mean, somebody that's out, there's got to be a contractor out there somewhere that has it, or maybe it's a guy that has a benzene muck and knows how to use it and can make the job happen. You know, those are the kind of contractors that I'd like to say that, you know, we try to reach out and find something on next.
We could try the benzene mucker, I guess.
I know there's some contractors that do have them, and I've seen them still being worked down south in wet areas.
The ground, I would think that we'll be looking at that 2,500 foot stretch is the way to go because it's the shortest distance and it's partially clear, so there's just a few areas that we really have to gouge out.
I don't disagree with, if you're sticking with a drainage ditch system, I don't disagree with that.
Question?
Mr. Mr. Kelleher is the driver on this, so I would like to give him the first shot at it because I've been working with him.
One of my questions is short term.
You have to say your name for the record, Mr. Kelleher.
Andrew Kelleher, 307 Plymouth Ave. Short term, can we get the marshes cleaned out and it dries up?
Yeah, Tom is working that approach that if we get another drought, we try to get in there as soon as we can. You know, I shouldn't say drought. If we get a dry enough condition where we think we can get in there with mosquito control, we're going to try to make that happen.
So
The only problem with mosquito control is you are, you know, one of their multiple tasks in towns they serve. You know, and you may not be first in line. That's the hitch with it.
No, I think also too is the ability to, where we had a relatively mild winter, we didn't have the marsh freeze. That would have given us an opportunity to get out there too, once the ground was frozen, but we didn't get that this year. So now we have to kind of wait till it dries up a little bit more in order to get in.
Yeah, we had the driest summer.
You do have to state your name for the record. sorry.
Darlene Kelleher, 307 Plymouth Ave. We had the driest summer, and last year they told us they couldn't do the drainage ditches because it was frozen. So in this year, they're saying they can't do it because it's not frozen. So can you see our dilemma? And now this is the third year, and the problem with the ditches was they weren't maintained. This says they were dug out every 3 to 5 years. They haven't been done in 7 years. And they were done 7 years ago because we came here.
You came with Jimmy Cantwell.
Yes, we did.
I was at that meeting.
Yes, we were. And I reached out to him and got nothing. I've reached out to representatives. And our yard is underwater 8 months of the year.
I know,
And nobody seems to care.
And you know, I have tried to make it a point to move this forward. We did get some progress, although not anything at the level I was hoping for, partly due to the conditions. But you know, my intent is, you know, to stay on this, and if I'm reelected, I intend to stay on it, and all the way through. Yes, sir. You're next.
So my name's John Clouchip. I live at 313. I live next to the Kellers. So I want to ask the engineer. You're an engineer, sir? Okay. So the issue is getting the equipment in there to unclog the pipe. Is that what the issue is?
The issue is getting the equipment to unclog the ditch.
Unclog the ditch. Okay, so it will flow freely out there?
Right, and it also flow back too. It goes in both directions when you,
Not usually when it's open.
Well, is it running downhill or is it level?
Yeah,
it's pretty level.
That is the problem. It is pretty flat terrain all the way around. The difference in elevation is minor.
And there's no way you can put a trap on that will flow one way?
No, that's what we would, that's what we would do if we would, you know, put the cutoff wall in. We'd have to have check valves intermittently spaced along the cutoff wall.
Okay, so when do you anticipate being able to take that action, get out there and unclog that?
Well,
There is, I mean, unclogging the ditches, that falls in under the auspices of the town superintendent. You know, he has the work crews. He is also on Plymouth Mosquito Board, so he has some influence there and the contracting on that. This is, engineering usually comes up with a solution and an estimate, and then it's turned over to the operational side to address.
Right, so bottom line is, when does this all get resolved? That's what we're worried about. You know, what the process will take, how long before it becomes unclogged?
And that is right now something I don't think I could give you an answer to, unless we can find somebody with a specialty piece of equipment that could actually get in there and do the work at a price that we can manage to fund and cover. Or we get a dry spell and, you know, we just thrust through. Basically, you know, we can't get cooperation, you know, from the Conservation Commission to proceed with the work, you know, well, then we may have to take the heat and just do it. And beg forgiveness afterwards, be Catholic, you know, don't seek permission, seek forgiveness.
We do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it all the time.
Diane Keller, 307 Plymouth Ave. I almost forgot my question. Just, well, never mind, go ahead.
Norm Wright, 70 Stuckett Ave. I'm trying to understand what my understanding is that there are really two parts to the problem. One is the pipe itself gets clogged. And then the second problem is the ditch out there that the pipe empties into also gets clogged. And if I'm understanding, I'm going to lay out what I think it is, and you guys correct me and then answer the question. So my understanding was that it was the mosquito control's job to keep the ditch clear, but it was the town of Marshfield that's supposed to clear out the pipe itself, to make sure that the pipe itself was always clear. So that just sediment going into the pipe wasn't done. And it was supposed to, I was at the meeting from 7 years ago also, and I thought we had an agreement for both of them to do that. They didn't have to do it together, they didn't have to do it at the same time, it just both had to do it on a regular basis. So my understanding is, is the pipe clear? Do we know that? All the way, except maybe at the very end where it goes into the ditch.
Yep.
And I think I've heard that the ditch itself is not clear. But I'm just trying to answer the two questions because I've heard different things all over the place. Thank you.
If I may.
Go ahead, Tom.
The pipe is clear. It goes to a head wall from the catch basin in the street. Once it gets...
And we're sure of that because we've actually put some...
We drained, we had a Vector truck down there. We sucked the water out of that. We spent the whole day there trying to...
Well, I know you sucked the water, but I know it...
But that's the pipe. That clears the pipe.
Okay.
At the end of the head wall, that's where the clogging starts. Those ditches are all over.
So it's the ditch. So the real problem is the ditch.
Is the ditch.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. So I think you guys have done your job.
Well, it's not actually mosquito control's problem either. They, you know, it's Marshfield's property.
All right.
So in essence, the town of Marshfield's responsible for it. We use mosquito control to come in and assist us. So they're not responsible for anything in particular. We asked them to
We
come
have to do
in.
that, and it's
And
helps
they
the
come in.
mosquitoes, and it also helps us.
Right. And the problem is that it's those Phragmites are so thick that, I mean, they grow over the channel. And you don't even see the channel and the water's flowing back and forth underneath. But that, once those Phragmites root and start to clog, then there's nowhere for the water to go.
And one thing I want to add, Tom, I can't remember, did we camera that pipe to be sure?
We haven't cambered it, but
Okay.
we jetted it.
I know you jetted it and you felt like it flowed okay. But to me, I think we still follow up with the camera just to see if there's any
Well,
deterioration.
we can't camera it until we get the water out.
I understand. The next time we are in a situation where we can, we
Right.
should camera to be sure. You know, I have walked those about 3 different times during the process of this winter. I walked down all of those drainage ditches. I can attest to the clogging issues and the like. And the other thing that complicates it is the trees have grown, you know, from basically being, scruff to some, 6 and 8 inch diameter trunks, which means their roots are also into those drainage ditches, sucking up all the water they can collect, and that adds to the problem with the Phragmites. Those are the difficulties. The solutions, we're trying to work on something that gets it done for now, and something that gets it so it works better going forward. The hitch will be, as it was with what we were just discussing on the roadways, funding. Getting the funding is the key.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, excuse me.
So, back when the airport was extending, there was a matching fund, I believe it's $240,000 or some figure, and they went and cleaned part of the ditch. But they didn't clean it all. They cleaned, I think it was at the end of MacArthur.
We cleaned 5,000 feet.
They did clean 5,000.
Yeah.
How'd they do that?
We had our contractor do it. DPW.
So why can't we do that again?
We can. Yeah, yeah.
Well, if we
Probably
had.
double now, it's close to $1 million.
Well, I don't care about the price right now. We're saying we don't have a contractor that has a particular machine to do this work. What did we do back then?
But the ditch is clear from our Bass Creek is clear. We have this 2,500-foot ditch out. So it's clear all the way to the dock from there. It's further back where we have a problem. But the problem on Plymouth is just immediately behind 307, and then there's a ditch that goes to Johnson Terrace. And we've got flow from Johnson Terrace that's tidal right now. So if we can get it to that point, we can make things move. That's all we got to do is get that 2,500-foot length. It's actually a little less than 2,500. To get in there and get that done, then we can get some water to move. But your backyard is very low. It's almost close to the water level. So, I mean, that's...
So who was the contractor on the airport work?
sorry.
Who was the contractor on the airport?
RCD?
RCD?
Yeah.
What did they use? What kind of equipment they use?
They had amphibious excavators, they had a couple of those, and they had track dumps, and they used timber mats, and they brought in excavators to replace those timber mats.
And you're talking about
They went in for
$500,000
Leon.
to $1 million to fix it?
It was less than that.
Less.
Go ahead.
They went in at Leon when they did that, right?
Actually, they went in at the airport and MacArthur is where the takeout
We had
was.
to get a right of entry on Leon also.
The town started that. We
Right.
started about 200 feet, did a couple hundred feet initially. But we went that way.
Right.
What are we gonna do?
One more time.
Number 307 Plymouth Ave. I want to remind you all that you have an easement through our property. And I would welcome anyone bringing a machine through if they need to clear that out. But I also have a question from listening to everything here. It seems like maintenance has been lacking, or undone. Like this says that the drains are cleaned out every 3 to 5 years. They're not. And these people can't get their roads done. I'm just wondering why citizens aren't prioritized, the health and the well-being of citizens, because it gets very dangerous on my street in the winter. I have health problems. Right now, there's algae growing in my driveway. So I don't know where the citizens land in prioritizing.
Well, as Mr. Cusick has stated, the select board controls the funding. And their funding priorities don't always match our needs. And that's where the rubber meets the road.
You gotta change the political climate.
Should we be meeting with the select board then?
Yeah.
Rather than
Well,
you
you can
seem
try.
stymied and...
You can try to let you talk, you know.
One of the problems, our maintenance guys can't just go out in the marsh right now. Mosquito control
We've
can't.
been asking for 2 years.
Well, I get that, but it's Chapter 91 licenses, Army Corps, water quality, notice of intent. It's about 6 months of permitting to do
We
this
should have
maintenance.
been- shouldn't take 2 years.
Mosquito control can go out there and they can do it without any permitting. And that's why we've been using that.
And Mr. Cusick, the comment you just made, we have made a couple of attempts, I can speak to it as the chair, when my first position with it, trying to work with conservation to get comparable, and with Mr. Reynolds assisting me, and Mr. Rod Parkashino, trying to get, the Conservation Commission to give us an agreement to let us do maintenance on that type of work. just like mosquito controls. And we have never been able to get there. You know, we do have a new conservation agent. It's a little, I think, a little bit more user-friendly than Mr. Grafton was, and we may be able to get something done, but we may not, because he is a servant of his board. And if his board says no, his answer has to be no.
Yeah, but the selectmen appoint the conservation
True.
board. See, you've got to make a change somewhere, and it's at the select board. They appoint all these commissions.
Well, they
Okay.
rotate in and out in elections.
Oh, you just got to run around, that's all, as far as I can tell. I mean, you're not getting
I'm not
anything
saying the
done.
select persons rotate in and out through elections, it's a 3-year thing, and they roll over. It can't be that consistent that they just stymie all the residents.
Well, they have been.
And why do they have that power? Why
Dave,
does
I
it?
have a last question.
Yep. We'll cut this off now, because we're getting repetitive. I'll give you the last word, Mr. Keller.
I was just wondering, if we do have a dry month, as far as going in with the machinery, how long will it take to get rolling with this? Because last year we ran into, permitting problems, coordination problem, a lack of manpower problem, a lack of training program.
Machine was broken.
So if I can find a contractor and we can find the funds to do it, hopefully we can deal with that. I gotta go to conservation, and I don't know how much further I have to go with that, but at least conservation I gotta go to, because they gave us an emergency cert to go in there, and we didn't get it done in 30 days. So,
I'm not going to recognize any more on this at this point in time. No, hold on. But what
so
you're talking
I will
about,
follow up on it.
but the process, the conservation process typically can be a month or more, okay? And that's the first step, to get the permit so we can do it. Otherwise, you know, we're in violation, we get fines, which they feed back through the DEP, you know, and then they end up on our budget. You know, and that just puts us in the same money trouble area. Once the actual work is approved, how long do you think it would take, Tom?
It shouldn't take long. I mean,
Couple, 3 weeks?
I would say a month at the most.
Okay, a month at the outside. So we could be looking at a 2-month process, you know, which we have to start now with conservation, and then proceed, you know, whenever the year, you know, you get the agreement that when we hit the right duration of dryness, then we can proceed with the work. You know, and that all has to be agreed from the Conservation Commission. Okay. I do thank you for coming in and for your input and your time. Thank you. Thank you.
So, mosquito control, I have contractors.
Okay. Let's get to the second item on the action item list. Relocation, modification of the guardrail on Joseph Rebeck.
It's an alteration of the shoulder. Nothing to do with the guardrails.
Okay, well, I requested this go on to the meeting. I am not going to be taking input from the audience on this, the people that are in the meeting tonight. As chair of the board, I'm not going to allow the comments or questions from the general public or attendees.
Why not?
Because I'm not. The deliberation will be by the board. They may ask questions of the staff and attendants, and through the superintendent. The purpose of the open meeting law is to allow the citizens to observe but not necessarily participate in open meeting, if that is the decision of the board. We will have a vote as to whether we do that or not. Okay? I want to make a couple of points. The superintendent, by contract, has broad authority in conducting the business of the Department of Public Works. It is stated in his contract in attachment A on page 13 under B, general remarks, and it is further emphasized in C, in general statements of duties, that gives him the authority that I feel he did nothing to violate the bylaw that regards the modification of rails or a garage cut. The statement is, this individual exercised significant independent judgment and demonstrate extensive responsibility for the operation of the department with the approval and guidance of the Board of Public Works. And this is from his contract. Okay? The superintendent of Public Works manages and coordinates the Office of the Board of Public Works, and establishes an effective working relationship among all town boards, commissions, and departments. The Board of Public Works will delegate day-to-day operation of the department to the superintendent of Public Works. And then on page 17 of his contract, Under 2, the Department of Public Works Superintendent should have the ability to exercise independent judgment in conducting duties and responsibilities.
You all
And as
done?
far as I'm concerned, he has performed all of that as part of this job, and therefore, there is nothing that violated anything under our guidance as members of the Board of Public Works. Okay?
You all done?
And, no, I'm not, okay? That authority is under his contract, which runs from now until June 30th of 2024. Okay? Now, after comments and discussion from the board, it is going to be my motion that we will have a vote to confirm and ratify the action of the superintendent in this matter of the guardrail and the shoulder of the road. Okay? And I will let the vice chair make his statements.
You'll let me?
Just said that.
Isn't that nice of you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you're all hard. You know that? You're gonna let the.
Hey, John, I'm treating you much the way you treated me recently.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, Article 36 is a bylaw. And this bylaw, no new driveway may be connected to an existing public way or an alteration made to an existing shoulder. So that's what happened. The guardrail is one thing, but there was never any discussion of an alteration of an existing shoulder. So when that happens, an application form must be submitted by the applicant that went before the ZBA. Nothing to do with a DPW project. We need to have the individual that signed that application to appear before the ZBA to get a special permit. He also has to appear before the Board of Public Works, and he comes with an application and a plan will be reviewed by the Board of Public Works and the police safety officer. So Article 36 is a bylaw, and for you to start reading about Tom's contract is harmless. It doesn't mean anything.
I disagree.
Well, you can disagree if you want.
do.
You can disagree anything you want. The only time this was even discussed about the alteration or the entrance to this DSA, a dirt lot, I suggested not to touch anything until it works away to all the boards. That was on 213. The other, not even discussions, it was in Tom's superintendent's report, which was beyond de minimis. There was nothing there really. It just we're having the guardrails not relocated, replaced. So if you want to say that this doesn't have anything to do with Article 36, then you're violating the Article 36 of the general bylaws. If you want to do that, there's consequences for that. I know certain people that are going to take care of this. So we have an Article 36, it's a general bylaw. The applicant that appeared before the DBA needs to appear before this board so that we can discuss.
You will not be recognized until after the board talks, and I'm not going to recognize your vote. This is not open for discussion beyond the board.
You're speaking to me though, so I can speak back to you though, correct?
No.
You're speaking to me.
I'm informing you,
You're
you're
looking
not
at
going
me
to be
speaking.
recognized.
You were at a ZBA meeting 2 weeks ago and you both claimed that you had meetings about this opening. Where are the meetings? Where are the minutes? You're not even going to allow people to talk about it. You're just going to say it's under his contract to do what he wants. I can say what I want. This is an open meeting and it's public. Free speech. I can say what I want, where I want.
Murph, let me finish.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I want to finish.
Yep,
So that you and Tom were at the ZBA. The ZBA depended upon your voicing that multiple times this was discussed at the Board of Public Works. And that's not true. It wasn't. It wasn't discussed multiple times.
The superintendent's report is a portion of our discussion as we go back and forth with him.
Stop trying to interrupt me, okay? It was never discussed.
I disagree.
Well, you can disagree,
Well,
you're.
I'll have Mr. Ketty recall the minutes
I have
You're
the
done.
minutes. I have the minutes.
It was a discussion, John, when it brought up, everybody asked questions.
I have the minutes.
I don't.
They
They're
didn't.
not
they-
verbatim.
Yeah, I read the minutes. There was nothing in the minutes. It was Tom's report about the guardrails. That was it. There was nothing about an alteration of the shoulder. It wasn't there. I read them. You know, if you want to say, you know, you discussed the guardrail, he discussed the guardrail. The board didn't discuss the guardrail, and we didn't discuss the alteration to the shoulder. We didn't discuss it. But, you know, if you want to stonewall everything, play this game, there's consequences.
I'm not worried about it.
You're up for election too, Bill.
I know, but I'm not worried about it.
Like you don't need the veterans for the vote.
Like I said, John, you only represent one small group of veterans.
Oh, what an insult. What an insult to the veterans.
Have you
Gee,
done
is
yet?
that on tape? Go ahead, let me hear it.
Mr. Shaughnessy, you comment?
There's a list in the, in our package.
Yep.
It says meeting dates 2022, July 18th, August 8th, November 7th, 2023, January 17th, February 13th.
Did you read them? Did you read those?
I'm just stating a fact here.
Did you read them?
He's interrupting again.
Yeah, that's all right.
That the discussion, there was a discussion about this area. Then it was brought up and it was discussed between the superintendent and the superintendent board. I don't see what the issue is with,
But
That's
did
not
you
how
read
it was
them?
represented at the
Did you
ZBA.
read
and
them?
ZBA was not
I'm
represented.
speaking here.
All right, I'm on.
So-
Mr. Shaughnessy has the floor.
You're not gonna let me talk, I'm just gonna
No, we're
talk.
not.
anyway.
You're not gonna let me finish, I am.
I'm gonna keep talking.
So you can keep talking once I'm talking.
Yeah,
if you
let
want.
him talk.
So we have town council here. And town council is legal advice. So I'm gonna ask town council if, by putting guardrails along an existing roadway and have an opening in the middle of the guardrail constitutes that we violated something as because of Article 36. Is that so?
Well, first of all, there's no Article 36. The bylaw was codified years ago. It's now Chapter 250. And under Section 250, Section 5, no permit is required when the Board of Public Works is working in the layout of a public way. And that's what I understood happened in this case.
Yep. Okay. You done, Mr. Shaughnessy?
No, so we didn't need a permit.
The Board of Public Works doesn't have to give itself a permit by this provision of the bylaws. A private individual does, but the Board of Public Works does not need any permit for to authorize itself to work in public ways.
So basically, it can be done under the authority of the DPW superintendent, who is our contractor and has specific authorities.
Particularly if it was discussed and approved.
No, it wasn't discussed.
And it
There's
appears
no
that
vote.
it was discussed
You
by
made that position and you are being disagreed with.
There's no
It was
vote.
not discussed and
We
approved.
just said you needed a vote.
That's my next question to Mr. Shaw.
In order to put an end to this further discussion and baseless accusations, I move that the board vote to confirm and ratify the actions of the superintendent in the matter of the guardrail and the shoulder. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Mr. Reynolds, please poll the board.
Chairman Carrier,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Cusick,
No.
Clerk Shaughnessy.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
The
why we
confirm
need to
and
change the
ratify
board.
passes 2-1. The subject is done.
What special code is that, Mr. Galvin?
Section 250-5.
Yep.
Is under the current codification of the general bylaws. It was formerly Article 35, now it's Chapter 250, Section 5.
We still have Article 36. You said,
We do not have Article
you
36.
said Article 35.
It's Chapter 250, Section 5. We haven't had articles for several years.
Good, I want to see if that, you all right? I want to see if that got changed. Not necessarily do I believe you.
It's 250-5, correct?
You slammed the
250-5.
Dropping this down.
I've got that written down. Section 250-5.
permit required.
It says, "No person except the Board of Public Works and persons acting under the authority of the board's orders and the lawful performance of their duties shall break up, dig the ground or any stones in any sidewalk or any other part of the public way, or place any staging or other temporary structure without a written permit from the Board of Public Works." So the board has exempted itself from the requirement to get a permit.
But it wasn't our work. This was done under the town administrator. He appeared as
1,
the-
2, and 3.
He appeared as the
My
the
understanding was,
applicant. So it's not the Board of Public Works, it's the applicant is the town administrator.
my understanding,
You're not going to be recognized.
Is this an open meeting or has it been closed?
This is an open meeting, but the purpose of the open meeting law is for citizens to be able to observe, but not necessarily participate in the discussions. And in this particular article, your presentations and others has been done pretty much before, I think, at
I
least
didn't
2
have a
other
chance to
boards,
speak
and
on
therefore,
this.
we are not proceeding with anything beyond what was just done. The vote has been made. There's a confirm and ratify of the actions of the superintendent in this matter, and we are proceeding to the next item on the agenda.
See how he closes it down, you see what we need changed.
Yep.
Yeah,
John?
everybody sees that.
The next item is yours.
You see.
I want to thank the town council for being here.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you don't charge us much.
Don't feel out yet.
charge combat pay.
No, you don't, you were playing with your cell phone the whole time. You know what I mean, Bob?
I was trying to ignore some of the things that were being said.
Yeah, well, you tried, but.
You did that or not?
Hey,
What-
You're on number 4, John. 3, rather, I'm sorry. The modifying the billing of, I'm sorry, that's mine, I beg your pardon. Okay. At the last meeting, I had presented the fact that we had, I had taken and had information given to me about the water use by the new police station and the like. And what I discovered in that is that we have 6 islands currently utilizing water, okay, that are not basically being charged anything, they're being used as an indirect charge. And therefore, I want to move that we direct the water department to cease charging the island at Ocean, Ocean and Plymouth Avenue for water and instead convert them to a offset county. You agree with that, Bob?
I agree.
It was in
Why
draft.
single them out?
What did you say? You wanted an offsets?
Yeah, we could convert it to offsets. If you look at the sheet, if you look at the statistic sheet in tab 3 in the book,
This is the one you're talking
like this, right?
I saw,
Okay. There were 6 islands, including Brant Rock itself, where basically the water is used as an offset charge. Many of these, like the island at Main and Pine, okay, and at Carlton Road, the island down at 3A and Summer Street, they had pre-existing connections back before Water Enterprise was started, when we actually had enough staff to do the job. And there is one comment I would make. If you look at the island at Brant Rock, they used 400,000 gallons last year, I'm sorry, between June 29th of 2021 and June 30th of 2022. You know, and that's worth about $3,600, of water use. And, I think we should have equitable treatment for all of the islands that are involved that have water spigots. And therefore, I move that we direct the water enterprise, the superintendent to direct the water division to convert that usage meter to an offset as opposed to billing.
Direct billing.
so the town would be paying for it.
That basically the town, we push it back against the indirects.
The general fund.
We push it back against the
Yeah, I
offset.
understand on
Yep.
how that.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
Do you have a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Before you vote there,
Huh?
wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
Still got a discussion. So that where the indirects, where we haven't agreed in a number of years with the selectmen, where does that leave us?
Well, these offsets are always statistically based. These always go over for the amount of water that's used. And again, it's billing rates that would be applied normally.
Do we use the sewerage on some of them that are connected? There's a lot connected to the sewage. Are we sure we?
Well, I mean, these are islands, so they don't have sewage. on
I'm
these?
not-
Okay,
I wasn't speaking.
Okay, okay.
I'm okay
You're
with the
speaking,
island.
I'm sorry, you're speaking about the entire.
Yeah.
I'm dealing, I just want to get the island issue,
Yeah, okay.
when then we can continue the discussion on
All
the
right,
rest
all
of it.
right, I'll give you an eye on that.
Okay, so that passed unanimously to be
I got the same
converted
goal.
to indirect.
Going around.
No,
Offset, an offset to indirect. Okay, balance of these, that is a question that I can't answer at this point in time, but it is something to be followed up, and that was what you wanted to pursue.
Yeah, because down at the town here,
Yeah,
they're pumping out boats, right into a pipe that goes right into the town sewage, and they're not paying for this, for the use of our sewage, so we gotta go in and find out what the number of gallons, just like anything else, how we gonna bill them.
have you looked at that at all, Tom?
We'll look into that.
Okay, yeah,
I'll double
we
check
can
that.
pursue that, and have no problem with that.
And on the other, town property, the fire department down in Brant Rock, the police station, town hall, are they paying for the sewerage? Are we sure that the water is reflecting the sewer charge?
The sewage, water
Because usually it's higher, the sewerage is way higher than.
I will check with Tom, but my memory is that, you know, that the water that is used at the fire station, for example, is the same count that is used for the sewage coming out of the fire station. You know, the exception to that would be,
Just like a resident.
it's like a resident, the exception to that would be, there's always a certain amount of operation, like when they get back where they'll flush and drain and dry hoses, you know, that would not end up in the sewer.
They don't have a deduct meter,
Yeah,
so that all their water use
Okay.
at the
So-
sewage station
Yep.
is metered through the water meter and
So
billed
they are charged.
accordingly,
Yes.
yes.
They are charged.
and if you recall, John.
That could be pretty high too.
Yeah, it is, but if you recall, I think it was, I want to say it was circa 2014 or 15, when the then town accountant, Barbara Costa, actually put all of the cash fund that came through in retained earnings, you know, against sewage.
Right.
Yeah. So, yes, it did. And, yeah, that got corrected on the town meeting floor, and she admitted her mistake.
I remember that.
She was a mistake.
Yes, I agree with that one. Okay. Next item on the agenda takes care of the current building. And now we have the transfer station pricing, and thank you for your patience, Ken.
Sure. So, I gave you some info, it should be in your packet there. Just wanted to start kind of a look back. In the last 12 months with the recycling costs, they've gone all over the place. We started out the year pretty low, if I'm looking from March of last year to February this year. We started out at like 55, went down to 40 by May, but then in the summertime, the recycling rates just went through the roof. So the high point was in January, we were actually, this past January, we were paying $152 to get rid of our recycling.
That 2003 versus
23.
Yeah.
I just saw that.
Yeah, I'll hope not.
So, and as you recall, you know, we do the curbside recycling, and then residents with stickers also get the recycling taken right to the transfer station. So that is, those prices have gone way up. Those are completely out of our control. I mean, we're just at the limit of commodity markets for that. Some other things with the construction and demolition of the commercial waste that we take at the transfer station. I think as you recall, last year we raised that up to $200 a ton from the 150. We did that in August, so it would be the second half of last year. When we look at what we took calendar-wise from 21 to 22, 22 would include that price increase, we still went up significantly in that material. So it went up by over 1,400 tons, which is over 42%. If you look at the first half versus the second half, they're basically even though we made that price adjustment. So that tells me that the price adjustment didn't change volumes at all, which means there's probably a need to make another adjustment. And I'll go over my recommendation for adjustments kind of at the end. Again, we looked at some of the neighboring communities, and if they take this construction and demolition debris, what they're actually charging for it. And Marshfield is still on the low end of that at the 200. In addition, while we were looking, we looked at sticker prices, and those are also all over the map. And again, they're hard to compare. because it's a package, everything goes in together to see what the value is, but clearly Marshfield at 20 is much lower than anybody else who's charging for stickers. The other thing we do at the transfer station is we have the resident weigh and pay, so if you have a sticker and you have a decent amount of material that you don't want to put in the pay-as-you-throw bags, you can just weigh your whole load as you come in. So we've been charging that out at $75 a ton with a minimum fee of $35. So in 2022, we took nearly 1,000 tons of that, and the revenue on that ended up being 120, and that's really just because of the weighted average, because of those minimums raised the price up. So that we're okay for for calendar year 2022, but again, there's probably needs to be an adjustment there. So the recommendations that I'm suggesting are, again, we do another increase on the C&D or the commercial rate. Raise that up from 200 to 260 per ton with the 130 as the minimum. I'd also propose to increase the weigh and pay, which really hasn't gone up in a number of years, just modestly, but all prices are going up, so I think we need to keep ahead of that. From 75 up to 80 per ton with a 40 minimum.
I'll go with that.
Also to raise the sticker pricing, which is $20 now, up to $30. Again, that would be, we reduce that in half if you get a second one for your household or over 70 years old. The other thing we've been seeing is we get a lot of manure from commercial operations within town. That stuff gets mixed into our compost, it's fine for the compost. The issue is that these are commercial operations that are charging for room and board, and they're using a residential sticker to get in and dispose of that material for nothing. So my proposal would be to actually charge for that material because they do have a business. They're not operating as a resident.
Would you segregate that out?
No, it would be mixed into the compost. It's fine for the compost. It works well in the compost.
Well, you mean like somebody who just has 2 horses, for example, versus a horse farm that has 10?
If that's what you're asking, yes, we would separate that out. If somebody has a horse as a pet or something, that's one thing. But if they're making money because they have a commercial business and they're boarding a lot of things, then that cost should be borne by those people, not by the rest of the residents in Marshfield.
Right.
Have we looked at this, Tom, from a water quality condition type of perspective? Because a lot of the stables I see tend to be along 3A and basically within the Furnace Brook, waterway, behind to the west of 3A. My only concern would be anything we implement with something like this could end up with basically issues for the local streams and ponds. So that we want to look at that aspect of it and maybe discuss it with Board of Health as well.
I mean, the DEP would like agricultural operations to take care of their agricultural waste, to do composting right on site.
Yeah, I know that, but I understand where you're going with it. It's just my only concern would be once we start doing some of that, you're just not going to be able to control what comes off of that compost runoff.
Yeah, looking at the leachate component. Looking at the leachate component.
Yeah.
Right, and what we're getting trailers of it coming in
Right.
now, so, and it's inundating us, so we need to put a price tag on it.
I don't disagree with that, no. But my concern would be, there's gonna be some of it in the whole back, where they got the woods out back, they're just gonna push it out back there, and ultimately some of it will, through runoff, will end up in the Furnace Brook, for example.
Well, I think that's where we get the Board of Health.
Board of Health.
Okay, yeah. That's why I want.
Yeah, do they have to be licensed by the Board of Health?
No.
I'm not sure.
By the manure composting operation?
I believe when the town voted as a right to farm, I don't think there's any particular, if they are creating a health hazard because they pile stuff up and the flies are around, stuff like that, then the Board of Health can act. But
I think a lot of these places are limited in space, so they're looking to get it off.
Get it off property, yeah.
So if they're, they should.
I think that, if they're within the zone too.
Yeah.
We must have, with the water commissioners, we might have some authority.
I would think so.
So
They
we have
can
to
have
identify
any
locations.
farm animal on any amount of land, from 1,000 square foot lot all the way up to 10 acres.
Well, I think I agree with Bob's point that if something that they're doing on the property has an issue for water, that's a different story. They could have a requirement that you could still have a farm animal, but you gotta do something about the waste.
Yeah, depending on what zone, yeah.
But Ken, is there something similar going on in the other municipalities
With,
with the manure waste and pricing?
I mean, we reached out, well, pricing, I don't know about. But I mean, we have reached out to DEP to say, is it acceptable in our compost? And they said it's no problem at all, as long as exactly what you said.
Okay.
It can't create a nuisance condition, which would cause flies.
Okay, so that would be their alternative to disposing of it with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But that's up to the health department or the animal control. They inspect these places, so
Right.
they should be able to pick up on
Yeah, if
something
somebody-
that's not really dumping at the transfer station. I gotta make a comment on you're raising the sticker price, that's 50%.
Mhm.
That's way too much. You don't wanna go up 50%. That's not good. 50% is way too much. And
Yeah, it hasn't been, the only issue there was just it hasn't been raised in a long, long time.
Yeah, well, that's not a good excuse, really. You don't want to, I'd say keep that the same.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
And then we have
As soon as he finishes.
weigh and pay, 80 per ton, that, you only went up $5 on each. I wouldn't even touch that. I mean, that's minimal. Why go up? If you're gonna go up, you know. We went up 50% on one line. This here was less than, like 7%. Yeah, 6.5. That's really not a raise. You know, why do that? It's not gonna generate any real income. So keep the sticker price down at, $20.
So I got a
Doesn't
question.
like water, yeah, I see it.
No, okay, that's fine. You done, Bob, John, so Bob can ask his question?
Go ahead, Bob, ask the question.
The question is, there are commercial entities in town that accept compost. Smith. And I think there's a place over in Hanover. Do you know what they charge?
No, don't.
Yeah. It's probably a lot more money than we charge.
Well, we don't.
I'm just saying.
We don't charge anything to get rid of it.
Right, I understand that, right? So I mean, I agree with your proposal. I think that they're in line of what it is. I mean, it's been a while since we raised any of the rates. I am cautious about the zone 2, those things that are within the zone 2. They're outside the zone 2 and it doesn't form a health issue. You know, it's a public health issue. But when it gets into the zone 2 issue, then it becomes us. It affects our water quality. And then I think we have some, as a Board of Public Works and Water Commissioners, we have a responsibility to do so.
I have a follow-up question to what is the percentage of increase for the C&D, which is basically well, I should say that, typically from what I've observed, and this is anecdotal, so it's need more fact, do we have a real handle on how much of the weigh and pay comes in as trash, which is getting out with our hauler, versus C&D, which is getting, hauled away to a different location?
It all goes together.
I'm sorry?
It all goes together. The C&D and the trash all go together.
It's all the same.
So they're all going, so we're no longer shipping C&D down to like Barnstable like we were before?
No, everything goes to
okay.
CMAS.
So how does the price increases you're talking about here, how are they compared to that disposal inflation?
They're more, I mean, we're saying.
What's the percentage of the increase that we've experienced?
4%?
Huh?
4%?
4% in price, so the disposal is up 4%?
Yes.
So I would say that if we're gonna do anything under weigh and pay, that should be the percentage by which you raise the weigh and pay fee to match. Because when it comes to the citizens and trash, they're already paying curbside a significant amount of money. Keeping us whole, that's our obligation as operators of the enterprise. But that would be my position, is that to me, that would be how we should be looking at it. Our inflation is that percentage is there. If we have a projection that, it's viable, that we don't like it going up by an additional percentage, then I don't have a problem with that being the adjustment. But I think there should be an adjustment that matches what it's costing us for the disposal.
So currently and that's increasing the weight to pay effective May 1st. it's going to go from 75 to 80 and 35 to 40. Is that, is Mike, did I read this?
Yes.
That's correct, yep.
So, I don't see the big deal. I mean, how we gonna, I mean, inflation was 7% last year, it's going up all the time, so, you know.
Well, but I mean, yeah, you're paying for the,
No, I get that.
you're paying the $15 for the dump sticker as a privilege to go in and
It's
dispose.
actually 20, is that?
20 bucks.
It's 20 unless you're 70, over 70.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
But, I mean, the bottom line to me is, that price increase should be representative of whatever the actual inflation is, and if we want to add a percent to it, for example, just to hedge against, additional cost increases that we might see.
10%.
So what is the,
10%, that's good, yeah.
so what is the percentage between 75 and 80? Is that 8%?
It's 3% to get from 75 to 78, 4% to get to 79.5.
It's a, so you round.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So I don't have I think
Okay.
it's a reasonable number.
So you were within the percentages we just talked about?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm okay with it.
What are we doing with the sticker, 10%?
The sticker price, we're going from 20 to 30.
That's a 50% increase.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Okay. Is there, what was your motive for picking that, other than the fact we haven't raised the price in a long time?
That was the motive. Haven't raised it in a long time.
So that was the only, okay. I would agree with, maybe bumping each of them $5. How's that sound?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Okay.
Pick up a-
So that would mean we're going from 20 to 25 and 15 to 20. Okay.
20 to 25, 15 is the 20?
15 would go, yeah, you got 20, if you're going up by $5 each, yeah.
Well, we said that stickers are, right now, they're
Leave the old
20
people
and,
alone.
they're 20 and 10.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
now
20 and
we're
10,
at
okay.
25 and
15.
So 15, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
What about the old people?
I'm one of them, I paid it.
Yeah, $10.
$10.
Yeah.
Hey,
So we're leaving that the same, right?
hey,
$10 for seniors.
15.
Why go up on the seniors? Oh, wait,
I
let's
have no
talk-
objection to going up the seas.
Wow.
I have no objection. I think that
You're
we
against the
made,
vets, you're against everything, now you're going up on the seniors. You're out of luck, pal. Hey, you're really digging a hole here, pal.
I donated at the time, I bought 2 stickers.
I buy 2,
You probably
even though
go,
my wife doesn't use
he
the.
probably goes to New Hampshire for free. We got Paul Duras taking his trash in from Barnstable, so why not?
Okay.
Yes, Tom.
Okay,
You
so
ever see it?
was this a formal request, or was this just for our evaluation going forward? This is the motion?
there's a motion.
All right,
Mark it up.
okay. Yeah, it's still 15, it was 15 for 70 and older, the second time in household. Okay. Motion, the Board of Public Works moves to approve price changes at the Marshfield Transfer Station as shown below. Price changes to take effect May 1, 2023. Pricing for items suggested to remain unchanged. Transfer station stickers, $25 and $15 for 70 and older and a second car in the household. So if you're getting 2 vehicles certified, you're paying the same price on the second one as the senior citizen is.
Well, how much is the second one?
$15.
The first one?
The first one's 25.
For
So
senior?
your initial sticker is 25. 70 and older, $15. If you're doing a second vehicle as a $25 pay, that's a 15 also.
But if you're a senior, what is the
If it's a senior, it's the same price if you're doing a second vehicle.
Okay.
Second vehicle is a
Leave the seniors
because
alone.
most of the time
They got
people
no
are,
money, but they vote.
yeah, most of the time people are not running 2 vehicles into the dump at the same time.
How do you?
Commercial waste will go to $230 a ton with a $130 minimum. Residential weigh and pay will go to $80 a ton with a $40 minimum. And we are going to institute a commercial manure price at $200 per ton with a $100 minimum. Do I have a second?
We have a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John?
I said it.
Okay, sorry. Bob
Gotta
was,
check that.
Bob was speaking at the same time. Okay.
I got this gold.
Okay. All right, so we are now moving to the acceptance of the open meeting minutes. the meeting minutes from March 6th, 2023. I have read these and I have no issues.
I read these and I have no issue. Guys have no issue.
Robert?
No issues.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes of March 6th, 2023? Aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Okay. Superintendent's report.
The only thing I have on my superintendent's report is just to let you know, capital since the last meeting, the water capital, I went before capital and I got, water was approved for $6,000 for the fluid system and other equipment. The lifts with accessories, they approved $8,250. Replace pickup truck with retained earnings was $40,000, that's one of the small ones.
That one a plow.
No plow on this. This is,
Probably, we have 18 plows behind the police station. I counted them, 18 plows sitting there. Just, I don't know how many behind 965. But we got 18 plows, I counted them today. Just sitting there like little
18
soldiers.
contractors we don't have to hire.
yeah, no, I guess they're there because we haven't had any snow, we haven't had to use them, so that's why they're sitting out back there. But, well cleaning and rehab, we have 50,000, meter replacement, 100,000, water main upgrades, 120,000, purchase of a L35 mini loader, 130, replace pump station SCADA PLCs upgrade, 150, and the generator to replace current angle drive is 240,000 for a total of 844,250, which was unanimously approved.
What are we doing with the pumping station? Is that 8 million? Is that?
That's the sewer pump station, that's on the agenda as a warrant article.
And the money is still from the?
2.3 is from ARPA, and the 6.1, I think, is what we've applied for through the SRF program.
Oh, that's good. That's a little relief to the ratepayers.
Yeah, and we had to change the article because the original article said 50-50 split with the general fund. They told us it couldn't go forward written that
I
way.
should run for selectman next
So
year.
we changed it.
I just might, I could win. I'd really shake them up. I would. They wouldn't sleep for a week. Come on, Jim.
Yeah, that came
Andy,
up quick.
let's go.
I think Blaine Joseph's papers out this year.
Yeah, but he's elected to the housing. He's a commissioner.
I did.
There were 2 openings. No one took papers out.
No, actually, I put broad stuff here. Alls I have in here.
Let's go. Make it a
We adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Good evening.
Aye.